All right, well, I am going to start doing a bit of work on my really crappy $10 shotgun. Picked up this and a German-made 22 for, what is it, 10 bucks for this, $2.50 for the 22. So, there's not a lot left of this one. I'm going to have to punch this pin out here. I've got another one that's virtually identical, except there's a lever that you pop out and it unscrews. So, let's see. I was hoping this one would be the same, but unfortunately no. So, my cheapo hammer out. Wire brush, penetrating oil to soak that, and the punch. Now, if you've watched some of my other videos, I've talked about the work mats before. Another thing that I love about using a work mat, when you go to punch something like this out, it's laying flat on the workbench. Well, clearly it's not going to go anywhere. Well, I've got about a 1/4 inch here that it can push down into these little rubber fingers. So I can work on that without having to get a block underneath it. So this is just trying to break a little bit of the rust so the penetrating oil can soak in. And even though I'm on a work mat, a little paper towel saves some headache cleaning up once you're done. Oh, look at that. It actually opened all the way. That's the first time. Well, sometimes just a little drop of penetrating oil can make such a huge difference. Yeah, it's still kind of... I still don't know whether swearing or not affects my channel, so... Get your punch nice and centered. Already got some movement. No need to rush on this. A little more oil anywhere you can expose a little bit. Expose a little bit of metal that was rusted together. Sure doesn't hurt. That's coming nicely. Okay, I'm going to let this soak for a bit. But I'm going to move on. I'm trying to see the name on it. There is a name. I'm not sure if you can see from up there. It's right in here. You know what? I would actually like it if you guys started telling me about your projects. If you got any questions, I've done all sorts of different projects over the years. I've been building cars since I was a kid. To me, once you figure out how to build a car, there's not a lot that you can't work on. I mean, it's pumps, it's motors, it's hydraulics, it's a little bit of everything. I got a 50 something. It's such a piece of crap, I can't even tell what year it is. A 58 or 59 MGA. And for those of you who know MGAs, you're gonna say, well, the 59 had disc brakes. Yes, and I think this car is being built out of 3 different cars. I think the chassis is from one car. I think the front half is from one car and the back half is from another car. I'm going to get started on that one. I was going to do it over the Christmas break, but you know how that seems to go at times. So this is just the rust removing gel. Buy it in the automotive section at pretty much any auto parts store. Probably pick it up on Amazon. But yeah, so just get a good coating of that on there. So you can move that so you can see. And it's actually quite surprising, once you get some of this corrosion off with the acid, how quickly you can then see the name. I mean, the lettering, the stamped in lettering just fills with rust and corrosion, dirt from your fingers over the years. And one thing I will say though is, for getting that lettering visible, brass brush. This one I actually thought was a brass brush, but it's a stainless steel brush. I don't think I damaged the surface that much. I mean, like I said, it's a $10 gun. It's put together with some baling wire. It's, quite honestly, it's a piece of crap, but it's a neat piece of crap. So I've got another one that's similar. I'm going to try to make, I think I'm going to end up making one out of the two, but you never know. I might be able to make two decent ones. The butt on this is fairly destroyed. Few things I'd like to try with this to see if I can get the wood to hold together. The butt plate is looks to be a chunk of an old conveyor belt. So I might end up with one wall hanger, one usable gun. I might end up with two usable guns that are a little on the crappy side. There we go. Just let that soak. So if any of you have watched my channel before, I've got a new camera set up. Hopefully the overhead view is, maybe I should have been over there more. Hopefully the overhead view is all right. I'm trying to learn as I go. I've never actually I've done the repairs, I've just never done the filming of it until recently. So I love that you guys are watching it. You know, don't have a ton of subscribers yet, but I really am enjoying doing this, and I'm glad you guys are watching it and enjoying it. But any comments, any projects that you've got going on, I'd love to hear about them. I'm going to take a break on this for a bit, let it soak, and then I'm going to get this up on a block. With the guns I work on, I'm not going to go and buy like the specialty blocks. I'm going to take a 2x4, drill a hole in it so the pin can come out. Pretty simple. Well, I am back. I've cleaned up the rust remover, and this is what is it, a Harrington and Richardson arms company, and the patent date on it is 1890, so she is an old one. I actually found one of these in mind you, in very nice shape for $350 US. So clearly I'm never going to get that for this. If it was nice original shape, I'd have to spend $350 to get this thing to be worth $200. So I'm just gonna keep going with this pin, and my blocks are usually pretty simple. So I'll just go with that. Sorry about that, disappearing off camera. That's soaked a little. Oh, that's getting nice and loose. Not the bad kind of loose, at least. Ugh. We'll get that lined up. I grabbed, I can't find my good punches, but I've got a hex bit that fits in there nicely, gives me a good wide head to hit. And that is that. There we go. And again, this is why I love these mats. You drop something and it stays where you put it for the most part. And we'll just gently wiggle that apart. You're always better. Give it a shot of penetrating oil, wiggle little bits. Never rush. There we go. That's what's left of that has come off. Ed said there was no firing pin. There is definitely a firing pin. So believe it or not, out of the box like this, she works. Well, I was kind of liking this sort of folk art repair here. Yeah, it is what it is. Side cutters. I always got to get the side cutters for stuff like this. Part of me wants to save this and put it back on once I'm done repairing the gun. So, for me, there's times to keep things original, and there's times to keep things original to how you got them. This is just sort of one of those neat little repairs that somebody did, probably some farmer somewhere, and he needed the shotgun to work. That's all he needed. Didn't care if it was pretty as long as it functioned. And the stock started splitting, so we repaired it. Those look to be upholstery nails. So I'm going to speed this up while I'm stripping this part. It's some bloody wire. I'm not going to keep everything. Keeping everything is how my workshop ended up in the state it was in before I started doing this channel. Oh, it was just a disaster. And it was my typical, maybe one day I can use that. You know, there's times to hang on to stuff. There's times to just throw it in the bloody garbage. For some old baling wire, throw it in the garbage. All right, now this screw head here is just filled with dirt and crap. So a little penetrating oil, a little dental pick is super handy. You can get those pretty much anywhere now. Hardware stores carry them. But get that cleaned up. Never ever start just by sticking a screwdriver in on an old gun like this and going. You're going to have some crap built up in there. And whether you got to grab a nail, a dental pick, or just soaking it in a wire brush, whatever it may be, just take those extra few minutes. You rush a project, you rush one screw and you break it, or you just strip the head, you're going to waste so much more time than if you just took a little bit more patience. And when you've got old rusted screws, if anybody knows the physics behind this, I'd love to know. Why is it that tightening a screw and then loosening it seems to have the best results? Look at that. Look at that. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. Jeez. Don't tell anybody. Well, this thing is Oh, look at that. Well, I don't want to make this any worse than it already is. I know that may not be possible. But grab a little bit of my old friend here, the painter's tape. I don't need any pieces going, falling. I'm going to see if I can still repair this. I know what you're thinking. It's in 2 pieces, and that's because I've been gentle. Well, we're going to see if anything is doable with this. But the wood on this is clearly, it's firewood. But I've been told on more than one occasion, don't buy that, that's not a project, that's just garbage, it's just junk. Well, if you put the effort into it, now you got to make sure you're putting in worthwhile time. If you're doing it to make money, then do it to make money. If you're doing it for the love of it like I am, you know, it's not always about making money. You don't want to lose money on every project, you know, but when you buy a $10 shotgun, if I can get this thing working and shootable, and really I should be able to assemble that, reassemble that with some dowels, some wood glue, some wood filler. So that's next to nothing. At this point, I'm into this part for 10 bucks. Rebluing the barrel and polishing it. Well, I'm not going to punch these out right away. I'm going to spray it down with some more penetrating oil, and I think I'm going to stick it in a big sandwich bag. Just let it soak. Maybe soak it in some mineral spirits or Varsol first. You look at all this crud in there. But before I even try taking the pins and that out and the springs, yeah, I'm going to let it soak, clean it up, and when I come back, I'll do more acid stripping on it, popping these pins out, and again for the block to pound these into, it's going to be just chunk of wood again, and drill some holes in it to fit. Yeah, stick around, like, subscribe. I'm going to keep making these if you watch them or not, so give it a watch. I give some good tips sometimes, help some friends out with what I've picked up over the years. I used to always hang out with old people when I was younger, and they would teach me stuff that people have forgotten 50 years ago. So I knew even back then that they could be a great source of information, and learned some pretty amazing things from these old guys. All right, I'll be back in a bit. I'm going to take a break for a little bit of time, jump in the hot tub, not with the shotgun. Yeah, we'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I haven't ended up scrubbing this yet. I decided to knock these pins out, might as well get it all clean at the same time. So I gave each of them a punch, let them soak in some penetrating oil, and they should both slide out fairly easily. This is not a proper punch, but this little guy, it should work just fine. I'll say this is coming apart a lot better than I was expecting. That's moving nicer. And that's brake clean. Let's try a little penetrating oil like I meant to use. Alright, so I'm going to let that soak for another minute. And again, not the best practice, but sometimes if you're in a pinch, digging out a couple of pins, use the small pin to knock out the bigger pin. If you have to use something that's not a proper punch, make sure you're not really beating on it. There we go. And of course it still doesn't want to come apart. Come on, why would it ever be easy? There we go. And again, I'm going to give it a spray down, and we're going to let her sit for a few minutes. Okay, well, I let it soak, and I forgot to keep recording there, but wiggled the hammer a bit, that popped out nicely, and then just fighting with this spring and the plunger here. So, there we go. Alright, now I'm going to worry about this release lever and the spring. So, I'll be honest, I don't know the correct way to do this. The screw is out. I don't need this board anymore. Excuse the bang. I don't know what the hell that is. All right. Well, there's a screw hole at the back here. Let's see if we can depress that spring, or it might just be a little spot. Oh, that's not moving. Might just be a little spot for the rod to sit in. And that's exactly what it's for. You see it popping up the end. Well, if you were on this side. So I'm going to hold this up. Just give it some light taps. So I'm just going to keep fighting with it a bit. I'm going to see if I can get a tiny screwdriver. No. Just don't want to gouge anything. I mean, this thing's going to need a lot of polishing to get decent enough to be blued, but oh, look at that. It's starting to come. There we go. And if you look there, tiniest little light scratch, but that's all going to get buffed out. So I'm going to punch this piece down in, and that should pop the spring. Always go nice and light. Well, look at that. So this is just set into a little hole there, a little pop from the side, and she's out. There. Down to the bare receiver, but I do have to get this firing pin out. Oh, and of course, didn't see that little screw because it's covered in more 100-year-old caked on rust and crap. Take your side cutters or pliers, you can grab the little precision screwdrivers very nicely. You'll snap some tips once in a while, but for something like this, it is just perfect. And before I get away from I get ahead of myself and start losing parts, let's get everything binned up. The more organized you can be, the better your project's going to turn out and faster. I should have been doing that from the beginning. But again, that's a great thing about the work mat. I haven't had one thing roll off. There, nasty old shotgun stripped. So this is all going to get soaked, cleaned up. Not going to be anything too exciting there. For right now, I'm just trying to get the grime and oil off of it. I'm probably just going to use some dish soap, hot water. And I think I'm going to leave this for the night. I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'll have this all cleaned up, and then I'm going to start with the acid. Get that rust off. See what it's like once the rust is off and how bad the pitting is. Okay. Well, I will see you guys tomorrow.